Wow. I don't think I've ever slept so hard in my life. Todd, is that you? What are you doing in a hat?
Oh, hey Norma. Yeah, about the hat. You see, it seemed to get more attention than me at the last opening day. It's like taking on this life of its own. It's now bigger than me. It's so big that this is actually now where I shelter in place. Man, I dreamt that we were in the midst of a pandemic and we had to go to remote learning overnight, and the IT had to support the entire campus with tech needs. Wow, what a nightmare that was.
Um, Todd, that wasn't a dream.
It's like I've been living the same day over and over again, kind of like Groundhog Day.
Reggie, wake up. Reggie, it's time for opening week 2021. Reggie, wake up. Reggie.
Norma, leave me alone. I told you to wake me up when 2020 is over.
Reggie, 2020 is so over. We're finally in 2021. It's a fresh start.
Seriously? 2020 was the worst year ever.
Yeah, I'll say all the salons have been shuttered, and I haven't been able to get my hair done in months.
Hey, speaking of hair, where's Manny? I thought Sonia said all four of us was working opening week together.
Todd, can you text Manny? I've really got to take care of something.
You bet, Norma. Manny's usually the first to arrive. I wonder what's up. Hey everyone, I got a text back from Manny, and he said he'll be right here. Whatever, I don't buy it.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I was just doing my hair. How does it look? I've been trying to grow it out over the winter break.
Yeah, Manny, it looks almost as good as Todd and Reggie's.
Exactly the look I was going for.
Okay, everyone, enough about Manny. Why is it that every time we get together, we have to be talking about Manny? Shouldn't we be getting ready for opening week? Does everyone have their lines ready?
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 Awesome. Here we go. Take it away, Norma.
Good morning, fellow renegades, and welcome to the spring 2021 semester. My name is Norma Rojas Mora, and I am one of your co-hosts for opening week 2021. I will be joined by Reggie Bolton, Manny Martsanos, and Todd Costin, who think they are co-hosting this event, but truthfully, President Christian asked me to keep an eye on them. So without further ado, here are Larry, Curly, and Mo, although none of them have curly hair.
Thank you, Norma. I think. Hi, my name is Reggie Bolton. I'm the Dean of Kinesiology, Athletics, and Health. This is my first time doing opening week together with my colleagues. My job is to make sure to make Todd and Manny appear to be funnier than they really are.
I've also started a GoFundMe page to help me enroll in some comedy lessons at Mr. Manny's Emporium of Humor and Fine Italian Bakery. I think Manny is moonlighting.
Throughout today, tomorrow, and Thursday, you will hear from special guests, campus leaders, and a lot of great speakers as we get ready for a whole new semester. 2021 will be a fresh start. I'm really looking forward to it. But for today, we have a great lineup of... Hey, everyone, can we pause for just a second? Sonia's calling, and I really got to get this. All right, hold on just a second. Hello? Oh, hey, Sonia. Yeah, everything is going great. Norma, Todd, Reggie, and I were just getting ready to welcome everyone. So, yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'll be sure Todd, Reggie, and Norma behave this time. Okay, I gotta run. Talk to you soon. Bye. Sorry, everyone. Where were we?
Do you mean before or after you were telling Sonia we were misbehaving?
You were welcoming everyone to opening day.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Norma. So, as I was saying, we're in for a great week of opening day events.
Thanks,
and-
Manny. I think everyone has heard enough. Before we begin, just a quick reminder to remain active in chat window. So without further ado, we welcome you to day one of Spring 2021 opening week. Let the festivities begin.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged, oh I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness there inside you makes you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful like a rainbow. Show me a smile and throw me on how we can remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, don't you know you can call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show colors. Beautiful colors. Da 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 I can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true
I'm Gene Gaitow, 97th President of the Bakersfield College Student Government Association. So we welcome you to the new year and everything that awaits us. Let's reflect and commemorate our efforts to get through one of the most profound years in our college's history, 2020. At the beginning of last year, we were faced with much uncertainty, yet seemingly insurmountable challenge with the coronavirus pandemic. We lost our friends, we lost our family, and we lost part of ourselves when normalcy suddenly disappeared. We continue to see the ravaging effects of global warming and climate change. We witnessed the murder of George Floyd and numerous other Black lives. And at the end of last year, we went through a very consequential and divisive election. While there may never be enough justification or explanation for everything that we went through, it's at least comforting to know that in the midst of hardship, pain, and loss, we answered back with hope, resilience, courage, and love. In the year that hit us hard and shook us to our cores, we found inspiration in the power of the human spirit to look out and take care of each other. Students made the extra efforts required to ensure that their voices were heard. Professors and staff members worked tirelessly to keep the continuity of education alive and a sense of connectedness, even though the majority of us haven't seen each other since March. We learned how to rise to the occasion by coming up with methods of online and hybrid learning. We have kept our food pantry open for anyone who needed it. We made laptops and online access available to provide technological support. Those who did come to campus especially made sure the masks are being worn, social distancing is kept, hands and commonly touched areas are being cleaned. Even though there's been countless loss here and around the world, students are making their thoughts known from all ages and backgrounds, fighting and demanding for rightful change to ensure a better future now and beyond. Where it's also can begin to express the gratitude we feel for our first responders, healthcare professionals, and our essential workers working in the line of risk and danger to keep our communities thriving. They're the true blessings in our unusual times. In a way, our unsung heroes existed in each and every single one of us. And when the time called for us to rise above adversity, it's my strong belief that we succeeded. Times of crisis, through the help of those who work on the front lines, we came together and we stood out for each other. As a college, looking forward to what's next and what's ahead of us, our passion should always be steadfast, and our commitment to success and excellence always be unwavering. As your president of the Student Government Association, it's my responsibility to ensure that my leadership reflects the needs and desires of our renegade community. Collectively, BCSGA faculty and administrators alike, our mission will always be to serve students and be able to give them the skills, the resources, and the compassion they need to succeed in the present and the future. As we move forward into an uncharted territory, we must continue to strive towards more diversity, equity, and inclusion. We as a Renegade family must make it a high priority to solve basic needs and securities, and keep looking to improve access to the technology that has allowed us to one of the greatest tools known to us, knowledge. On top of that, enfranchisement and mental health services should be a key focus that the student government and I will continue to address to ensure that the needs of our college are being met. After all, time and time again, education will always be the greatest equalizer in a world of imbalance. Everyone in our community who aspires to have a chance of their ideals, their hopes, their dreams, and their good future should have the ways and means to approach them. Being a renegade has meant embracing the good in all of us. Whether that is checking on your friend, going above and beyond, sending a thank you email to a professor. Patience and communication and resilience will make the difficult times that we're all struggling in way much easier. It takes conviction-filled leadership to make a strong difference here at BC. And everyone that wears the red and white renegade stripes has the ability to make that change. It takes courage to succeed in this world, taking risks that others would fear to take. It takes a sense of purpose, sense of heart, honor, and humility to advance everyone in our communities, both here and abroad. The monumental changes that we're looking for exists and starts with each of us. And I'm quite blessed to serve a community filled with leaders, those filled with courage, drive, stamina, ability, and kindness, and to have the opportunity to be the best leader that I could be, with the goal of being able to serve such a diverse and well-dignified student body. It's my hope and it's my belief that things will get better, and with your help, we'll achieve greatness. I wish you all another safe year, and I hope to see you soon. Be well and take care.
So back to student learning. Last evening, after I wrapped up all my meetings after the seminar and was out walking my golden retriever, Neo, who weighs about 110 pounds, I felt this wave of optimism, knowing that we are collectively focusing on what is really near and dear to the heart of every academic, and that is learning. To use the guided pathways language, pillars 1 and 4, clarifying the path and ensuring learning, both are directly tied to our understanding of all aspects of learning. The storyline of our work is based on these two pillars, and the cast of characters include institutions, what are colleges doing in terms of setting up systems, the curriculum process, faculty, the pedagogies faculty select, assessment as both Stephanie and Dolores talked about, and students. Eloy and Tia McNair talked about meeting the students where they are, taking that teaching to the learner. So before we tell the story of our learning landscape, perhaps we should consider some what I call fundamental truths. So truth number 1, humans are learning all the time. Learning is unavoidable. Whether the learning is organized in the classroom in course buckets or Carnegie units, or they are organized in terms of competencies within the framework of competency-based education, whether a student club on our campus is doing a book read, or on a more informal note, there could be a family at a dinner table talking about the elections, and another family could be talking about the work at the hospital, about a mom dealing with a 2-year-old with a growth in her brain, and what does that mean? It could be a conversation about how should grapes be harvested, which is indeed the conversation for many of the individuals who are our students at Bakersfield College that do harvesting in the fields in Delano and in McFarland. So learning happens everywhere. How do we recognize learning? Truth number 2, our formal learning systems are a result of public trust and quality assurance. In the United States, the public has entrusted us academics with a sacred responsibility, the responsibility of creating a system of learning, a system that is current and well understood, a system that must strive to continue to keep the confidence of the public, and a system that is verified by peer review accreditation process for the purpose of quality assurance. And this system results in significant resources, Title IV financial aid flowing from the public back to those institutions that are accredited. So my personal story as it relates to clarifying the path and ensuring learning spans 2 continents, 2 cultures, and multiple roles. The role of a student, the role of a faculty, a vice president, and now a president. As a math faculty member, I was focused on advancing students' understanding of mathematics. When you think of mathematics, the study of counting, numbers, structures, which is algebra, spatial dimensions, which is geometry, and motion, which is calculus. So most of my education in mathematics was in India, and even though I do believe that math is a universal language, and an extremely beautiful language at that, still when I came to grad school as a foreign student at USC, I had to reorient how that language was socially constructed here in the United States. Our second speaker for today, Cecilia Rios Aguilar, would call this my fund of knowledge, what I brought with me from India. it was my fund of knowledge, which is an accumulation of discipline knowledge and the lived experience in India, plus other aspects. When I became Vice President of Instruction, I started understanding the larger framework of institutional learning outcomes, and I went beyond my own discipline. And I started understanding the development of general cognitive abilities that cut across all disciplines like critical thinking and communication being generally accepted as important skills. My teacher was Clifford Adelman. Many of you would recognize his name. He was one of the authors of the degree qualifications profile that was branded with what I call the spider web diagram with 5 vertices: intellectual skills, specialized knowledge, broad integrative knowledge, applied and collaborative learning, and civic and global learning. So you can see with these 5 dimensions of the DQP that there are some value statements coming into cognitive development. In addition to Adelman, the other 3 authors are Peter Ewell from NCHEMS, Paul Gaston from Kent State University, Carol Geary Schneider from AAC&U. And our speaker for session 1, Natasha Jankowski, was one of those who helped develop the DQP. So the experiences that I had cultivated over time, it all came together for me on February 7th, 2020, about 10 months ago, when Yarrick Yanyo asked me to speak at the SLO Symposium in Monterey. A month before the symposium, Stephanie and I attended the CHIA conference in Washington, D.C. in person. It was pre-COVID. I had been immersed in student learning as a faculty and then as Vice President of Instruction. And then when I became president in 2013, I got laser focused on student achievement, that is completion of a degree or a certificate. And thanks to Yarrick, I found myself reverting back to that part of me that had been sidelined for some time. One of the speakers who really inspired me was Jamil Salmi, and he stated that quality assurance should go beyond academic excellence to take into consideration equity, social engagement, ethics, and the pursuit of truth. This moves us into the realm of values. Is it the business of academics to inculcate values within the curriculum, the pedagogy, the assessment of learning? Or should it be restricted just to cognitive development? Is it the business of all of us, faculty, administrators, staff, and students? Should we all come together to play a role in socially constructing this learning environment? The answer to me is a resounding yes. And that is why I titled my talk in February as #Occupy Learning. So let's continue expanding these circles to include more students, more diverse roles within the academy, as well as our friends in the business and industry roles. As I said 10 months ago, the time has come. Pillars 1 and 4 take center stage. So let's boldly occupy learning.
So the next question is, we are lacking language and theory and practice to explain the concept of student learning and assessment. We pay attention to attendance, grades, course completion. What does it mean to ensure student learning?
I'll take this one for Cheryl. So I am going to throw into the chat a link to an activity. So not surprising, as a person that runs a National Institute with my background in philosophy, I have a philosophy activity that I'm going to share with you. There's one that's designed for faculty and one for student affairs. I'll put both in the chat in just a minute. But the point is to say, before we even engage in the process of assessing student learning, we have philosophical lenses is the way that we present it. There's 4 that are the most prevalent that guide our approach to this. And a lot of times we have multiple ones within a department. We have multiple ones across our institution. At different times, one is more prevalent than another. And knowing which one we're dealing with in our conversation can really help us not crosstalk each other. So I'll just give you a brief high-level overview. One, the one we hear most often is measurement. That assessment is about picking the right measure. So when you have a conversation with someone that's like, I have this outcome, how do I measure it? And it's like, no, we got to back up. We've been having this whole design conversation and intentionality and values and all of this sort of piece. We did not yet in any of our chat this afternoon get to measure. That comes later. And so, but there's a whole swath, and that's not to say you're wrong, that immediately starts with measure. I need a pre-post. It's got to be standardized. I got to make sure everybody got it. I need to have comparison. If my N size is too small, forget about it. I don't want to look at it. That's measurement. Another one is that compliance, which is, this is an add-on, it's bureaucratic. This is not about teaching and learning. I don't know why I have to do this. What do you want me to put on a report? Let me go back about my job. And that's really based from that experience that we've had about where assessment fits in that space. The third one is that student-centered, which is, how are students experiencing our learning? How are they knowing where they are in that learning trajectory so that they're like actively participating in their own learning and advancing to those learning outcomes? Most of our learning outcomes were written for us, not for our students. We don't tell our students about them. And then they leave going, what did I get from this? And we're like, critical thinking, problem solving skills. And they're like, what? No, I didn't. And you're like, oh, that was a class. And also it's in the title of the class. I didn't get it. So really thinking about how are we actively engaging our students in knowing where they are in their own learning journey is another. And that looks very different. It has different measures. It has where you do it is very different. And the last is that teaching and learning that's about the questions of praxis that we have. And is this working for my students, and in what ways, and all of that. So I think first and foremost, I would say figure out what's your sort of combination of those. Do the activity, do it with a friend, do it alone, whatever. And then engage in conversations on, are we too heavy on this one? Is this where we want to be about my beliefs? And get to that consensus on, where do we need to be and what does assessment mean for us? And what does good assessment practice look like for us? Because good practice will look very different, and it depends on which one of those ones you want to do. But because of how assessment has been implemented, we get to what's the measure and tell me how to do it. And so anytime you see a 5-step process that's going to change your life, red flag, pause, and go back to Cheryl's, find a safe place and talk to someone about it. Get into a conversation and engage. So there's not one way to do it. There's many, but being mindful of the decisions you make and what that means will help you immensely as you continue in your work.
That talking to each other is so critical. I think one of the things you pointed out in the book is just highlighting the research that shows that students aren't transferring the information perhaps from one area to another. I teach writing, and yet I hear from my colleagues in the sciences that their students can't write. Well, I know they can write. I've just seen them write the semester previous, but are we doing enough to help them understand that there are different contexts for writing? So writing for the humanities may look different than writing for the sciences, as well as writing outside for employment. And are we having those conversations between departments about those kinds of elements of student learning? But then the broader pieces about critical thinking and other forms of communication and quantitative reasoning. I think because we exist in our silos, and that's just really silos between faculty. But then, the learning systems paradigm really speaks to the entire campus. The student who has work study employment on campus, are we in any way linking, even if it doesn't to them seem related to their major, how can we relate to those soft skills, or what was called yesterday power skills, which I really like. So facilitating those conversations. And I think that's a second piece of the paradigm that I really appreciated, was about that consensus and the communication that's necessary to develop that alignment. And so in terms of recommending, it's like, have those conversations that we often overlook as necessary. As we talk about kind of higher education's traditional role as a place to sharpen academic and workplace skills, things like critical thinking, communication, plus employment skills. When you touch on the application of equity in the learning systems paradigm, how do we integrate both the central focus, the ongoing focus of education, with the integration of our values, such as equity and racial justice? Are there ways we can design our learning systems to promote both equity and academic learning?
Yes. Yeah, 1,000 times yes. So I think for us, there's 4 parts of the paradigm that we saw, and each of them are very interconnected and work to address this. And when we did this work, when we were tracking and mapping the DQP, that work has evolved into a huge strand of equity work within the National Institute for Learning Outcomes Assessment that came really out of those 4 areas that we were focused on originally. So we talked about alignment and consensus. So do we know what we're talking about within our own institution? And do we know how our different pieces, if we say these pieces are moving us towards something, move us towards that? But the last 2 pieces really are where that equity piece can come into play so elegantly in aligning our values with what we're doing in our day-to-day experience with students. And that was that it needs to be learner-centered, and it needs to be communicated. And when we were talking about communicated, it's really that I'm constantly telling you, not on like the first day, you got a syllabus, you're overwhelmed and all these things. And yeah, you're like, don't you remember? It was on that document. And you're like, I've lost it and I don't even know. And this is so important, even more now, and with our attention spans just incredibly limited, the amount of things going on for our students and our faculty and staff during a pandemic, the being clear in, this is what I'm asking you to do. This is why it matters. And this is how it connects to something else. And when you've done that here, that's the same thing. And helping teach that reflection, that metacognition, and that transference of learning. There was a great study that was done in student employment. It started in Iowa Grow, and it's moved into a variety of different models since then, where they would ask student employees questions about what are you doing in your job that is applicable to your coursework, and what are you doing in your coursework that's applicable to your job? And the first time you'd get asked, you'd get like a teenager response, like, what have you done today? And they're like, I don't know, nothing, right? So the students will be like, I don't know, I don't see a connection, because we've never asked them to look at that. As much as we have barriers in a systems view, our students have barriers put up for survival, which is like, I'm now going to class, then I now go to work. And then when this semester's done or quarter's done, this is over, I'm now doing this learning. And so it's inherently compartmentalized. So we have to be very clear to our students, there is a connection point here. There's a reason and design to all of the things that we ask you to do. It's not like we just did this because we're mean or we want to cause you pain, but there's a purpose behind it. And we have to make that purpose very clear to our students, make those connection points clear. And that can also even help close equity gaps in the work that's been done around assignment design by Marianne Winklemas, which I think is great. If anybody wants to look on how do you look at your assignment prompt to be clear for students so they can actually do what it is you're asking them to do. So really very cool stuff. But the learner-centered piece also says, we're very aware that our institutions were built not for students or not for these students that we have in mind. And how can we ensure that every step of the way, we're not just going, oh, we're keeping students in the center, but we're actively involving students. We aren't assuming we know what's best for them. We're involving them in the process. They have agency in their learning. It's not the lucky few that figure out how to find the resources or navigate a system, but it's pushed into that. And so not only does that mean when you're in that learning experience, you're going to get more from it and have a better relationship with our institution, but we're also addressing those issues of systemic barriers and inequities that have been sort of baked into our institutions. And the only way to do that is to really have some of those hard conversations and engage in it. So long-winded way of saying yes, I think that there's definitely ways to put all of this together towards equity. Assessment does have a history in measurement, and we can talk about that in the Q&A if people want, and how that sort of impacted our equity conversations. But there's a ton of great work unfolding on what does it mean to infuse equity in assessment? What if assessment was a vehicle for equity? And what does equitable assessment really look like and entail on our institutions and our in a variety of ways? And I'm really excited to see that unfolding nationally.
As we think a little bit more into, you've mentioned kind of starting to look forward. How do we, as we locally and systemically implement a learning systems paradigm and address all of this, how do we continually improve our student learning so that we can obviously give students more success in the future? And as we do that, what can we anticipate as the future of learning over the next 5 years, or even, looking further into the future over the next 20?
That's always an interesting question to ask about the future. It's particularly hard at this time. I have no idea what state budgets are going to look like in relation to higher education. Enrollments are going to be an interesting bag for our students moving forward. We've got COVID-19, there's a racial reckoning, leadership changes that are happening across higher education. From where I sit at the National Institute for Learning Outcomes Assessment, the ones that I see is, I think, 5 years out and then a little bit beyond are the focus on how do we document our learning for our students in a way that's incredibly portable and digital. And so there's been work happening nationally on comprehensive learner records, which is I know I can do these things, and embedded in that is the evidence of it, which could have come from a course, it could have come from a co-curricular experience, and all of those sorts of pieces. And then it's digital, so I can take it. I can push them to you, I can push them to an employer, and really thinking about how are we creating data standards that allow that to be ingestible, digestible by those data systems. So on the one hand, as we work on our structures and systems, we need an infrastructure for technology and data that supports that, and that is just as flexible, adaptive, and embedded as our students are and how they move through our systems. So I would love to see that comprehensive learner record work really picks up, and that the way in which students have access to their records become different. It would be really, really neat if I'm going to push out 20 years. If I, as a student, could put forward something that I think counts as learning, I think I met this learning outcome with this demonstration. Tell me if I did. And then a college could say, I'll take a look at that in relation to this. Yes, you did, or no, you didn't. And really think differently too about how our students engage with our institutions in that learning as a currency sort of piece. But that's later. I also think because of all the conversations that have been unfolding in the last several years on equity and assessment, that we're really going to see some fascinating work on that, some frameworks, some models, really rethinking those demonstrations of learning to be much more equitable. And while it started as conversations and conference themes and all of this, I think we're definitely moving into the practice piece of that at this juncture. And so that will continue moving in that direction.
Google recently opened up a program for learning specific skills, such as a data scientist certificate program. Once students complete these certificates, that then opens the door for them to apply for jobs at Google. So how can applying a funds of knowledge concept or lens prepare institutions of higher education to respond to disruptive efforts like these to unbundle higher education? And is this a challenge that we are prepared to meet? And how can funds of knowledge help us better understand what's going on with these types of efforts that we're seeing, for example, from Google?
Thank you, Craig, and thank you for the question. I know these are tough questions. The audience is right on, spot on, because these are things that are happening. Students are questioning the value of attending higher education. They're constantly asking, is it worth my time? Is it worth going through so much that they have to give up in order to get their credentials? And that's response to part of that. We're not making meaningful connections with them. So they're seeking for other alternatives. So if we don't, again, engage in these funds of knowledge approach of learning with students, from students, to make these meaningful connections, they will keep asking themselves, is it worth it or not? And if it's not, they're going to look for other alternatives. So that's one of the reasons why we think this approach is highly needed, and the conversations need to start happening more and more often across all institutions, in institutional research offices, among counselors. I think this has to be, again, a way to invite all of us to talk to each other more.
I would add one comment to Cecilia's. Not only are we perhaps not meeting the needs of the student who's saying, do I really need this full-on degree to do what I want to do? I would suggest that in the example that you gave us, Google has decided that whatever degrees applicants are coming to them with is not what they're looking for. And thus they've started their own training to meet their needs. So it's conversations with employers as
Mhm.
well as with our students. I know there's a session coming up on badging and micro-credentialing. I think that has some merit that can address this question as well. So that should be a good one for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good kind of reminder that on Monday we'll be hearing more about micro-credentialing and badging and how that is an evolving tool and strategy in higher education. So related to your point, Sally, about bringing employers to the table and engaging employers, obviously they're sort of, in a way, the consumers of our credentials. From the student's perspective, they're looking to get employed, and the credentials and the knowledge and skills that they're learning at college and at the university are their key to that employment and in moving up the ladder. So we have a question from Johanna Camacho. She asks how we can get human resources offices to agree on using students' work history and valuing students' work history, and getting organizations such as the Society for Human Resource Managers to buy into these concepts. Any thoughts on bringing HR to the table on all this?
Sally, you want to attack it first, or you want me to start?
You go right ahead. That's a big one.
I think more than human resources is, I mean, clearly human resources, but business offices, the college, the leadership has to be clear that perhaps this should be an institutional strategy to say, hey, first we need to learn where our students are right now. What is it that they bring to the college? Fill out as part of your college application. I'm envisioning this world in which we ask them, please grab every type of job that you've had, and then we can go and grab, we have technology now, labor market, very sophisticated people there that are willing to partner with educational institutions to say, hey, these are the skills. We can maybe place students and offering them programs and courses and just validating those skills initially to say, this is what you bring to the college. So now let faculty use that to talk about curriculum. Let's career centers grab some of that information too and say, hey, what are the questions that we should be asking students based on what they have and who they are? That's in my visionary world where we need to be moving forward. And it involves business offices, it involves career centers, it involves counselors, it involves faculty. It's a really reimagining how we are, as higher education institutions, are operating, and how we make sure we tell the students, hey, you come already knowing so much. We want to take you to a whole nother level, but we recognize that you bring all these things.
My addition to Cecilia's answer would be my experience over the last 3 years building an apprenticeship program for health, which is a very non-traditional sector for apprenticeships. And it's been really, really rewarding, as well as eye-opening, how much employers, as an extension of their HR offices, really do care, and they really want to have their voice heard. And I would also add, I've experienced a great level of frustration from employers who feel that for the last 20 years, they have not been heard, and that academia has led the way, and we have said what they needed. So the times are changing, and the conversations are ripe, and those who have the ability to connect with employers and their HR representatives, it's a really, really fruitful conversation if both parties can be open to listening.
Wonderful. We have a question from Stephanie Droker asking about how we can articulate the value of a degree that includes students' cultural experiences and histories. And I'm going to just throw in a connection to some earlier comments in the chat thread about credit for prior learning and competency-based education. Do you see those as avenues to connect students' funds of knowledge to an accredited degree that is recognized credential widely with employers and in general?
Definitely. I think these conversations are linked. And what I so appreciate what Sally said before, that employers are part of the equation. The private sector needs to be more in conversation with institutions. And let me just say that if there's one sector, in my opinion, this is my very personal opinion, okay, knowing that I work for a 4-year sector, but if there's a sector that has a potential to really innovate, to really serve students from an equity-minded perspective, is the community college sector. For me, right now, what we're experiencing with COVID-19, what we see, we need, in the case of California, we need a new master plan. We need to give community colleges a much more robust set of funding, of course, but also they have the capacity to innovate, to do more of these easier and faster. The 4-year sector, I think, in my opinion, is too slow. And you guys are educating most of our marginalized students that desperately need this validation and this credit for prior learning. And I guess it's the validation of who they are and all the wealth that they bring to the college setting.
I thank Cecilia for that recognition of the role that community colleges have, and the fact that we do have the ability to perhaps be a bit more nimble than our 4-year colleagues and those institutions. I would suggest, or maybe I'm going to share my vision, my hope. The Hawaii community colleges have really struggled for 30 years on how to make prior learning assessment work. We make attempts every couple of years. We get bogged down in bureaucracy and disconnects between each other on how to assess that. I'm going to suggest that the monster that we are now dealing with in Hawaii, as well as some of our California, I'm sure in different regions, but Hawaii across the islands, because of our strong dependence on tourism, and we have no tourists now. So our displaced worker problem is a tsunami, an absolute tsunami. And those are people that are bringing just incredible, rich work histories and other experiences to the table. And now is the time, if we're going to pull this off here in Hawaii for credit for prior learning, now is when we need to do it, because we have thousands of people who could benefit if we could figure out how to make that work and give them that credit so that they can recraft their careers or their professions and move forward.
I agree, Sally. I think COVID-19 is, and the economic catastrophe that is in front of us, the way for economic recovery has to involve community colleges and has to involve all navigating and validating the work histories of people and helping them reach to different careers, to different ways of doing and working, but it has to be first that recognition. So I think definitely that there's momentum right now to do that.
What's up, guys? How we doing today? Coach Peters here, ready to help us move around a little bit in the middle of our opening day ceremony. So I want to start with a little bit of space around you. Make sure you move your chair out the way. We're going to do some marching and maybe even some knee hugs if you're ready. So let's start picking that knee up as high as you want, as high as you feel comfortable. As we start doing that, I want to get under the knee and start cranking if you can. If you can't quite get there, maybe crank underneath the thigh. And we're going to keep alternating, just kind of simulating some walking and stretching out those hips a little bit. As we're doing this, make sure our bottom leg is long and locked. Our quad is turned on as well as our glute is turned on. Straight line from our head to our heel. Great posture throughout. Knee is pulling up to the chest, not the chest down to the knee. Nice and tall. Very nice. Let's shake it out a little bit. All right, guys, our next one is going to be some body weight squats. We're going to begin with feet slightly wider than your hips, toes slightly pointed out. And as we go down, make sure those knees track over the toes, slightly working outward. Once we get our stance, we're going to set our posture. Shoulders down and back, big chest, abs tight. We're going to break at the hips first, and then we work our way down. I like to bring my hands out in front as a good counterbalance to keep my chest up. Now go as low as you feel comfortable. And if you want, you can pull that chair up close to you and sit down onto the chair, right back up. Let's keep getting some mobile active reps. Very nice. And shake it out. All right, guys, for the last one, we went knee hugs, we went squats. I want to pick it up a little bit. Everybody knows jumping jacks, so let's get it. Hands to the side. Ready? Feet coming out with it. Good rhythm with those arms. Stay off the heels. Nice light bounce on your feet. Get your heart rate up a little bit. Oh, very nice. Thank you for your time, guys.
Assessment is not a final snapshot of learning, but something we do constantly during a learning experience. We stay informed as we evaluate and reflect on learning within our classrooms on an ongoing basis. Not only does this provide us with opportunities to improve our programs, but our institutional outcomes as well. Bakersfield College's assessment committee is driven by hardworking students, staff, faculty, and administrators who support the work of strengthening our programs and therefore strengthening our institution. In collaboration with our Accreditation and Institutional Quality Committee, we facilitate the transparency of student learning obtained through the assessment process to improve retention, progression, and academic success of Bakersfield College students. Thanks to the work of our faculty recording the outcomes of student learning within their courses and mapping their outcomes, our Office of Institutional Effectiveness was able to compile preliminary data to analyze our institutional learning outcomes, or what we like to refer to as ILOs. I'd like to give a special thank you to Soo-Yun Kim for all her hard work in leading this effort to provide us with this college-wide data. Let's first take a look at ILO number 1, Think Critically. As you can see from the graph, each column shows the outcome performance from the summer 2018 semester through the spring 2019 semester, while the last column compiles the data for the 18-19 academic year in its entirety. The red bar on the bottom corresponds to the percentage of students who exceeded expectations. The pink bar in the middle of the column corresponds to those students who met expectations. And the gray bar at the top corresponds to students who did not meet expectations. When gauging performance for an ILO, we are looking at the total meets and exceeds expectations percentages. What I want to really highlight is this final column on the right, the overall performance for the academic year, which shows that 83%, yes, that's 83% of our Bakersfield College students are meeting or exceeding expectations in critical thinking. Let's now take a look at ILO number 2, Communicate Effectively. The column on the right, which is the data for the entire year, shows that 82% of students are meeting or exceeding expectations. Let's look at the results for ILO number 3, Demonstrate Competency. The data for the entire year, the last column on the right, shows that 82% of students are meeting or exceeding expectations. And last but not least, ILO number 4, Engage Productively. Once again, the data representing the entire year in the last column shows that 85% of students are meeting or exceeding expectations. These results are just fantastic. It is no surprise that this data shows that your work is making a difference for our students. To complement this important work and even more directly assess our ILOs, the assessment committee formed a sub-team this past year specifically tasked with tracking our institutional progress. Our efforts, though impressive, need your assistance. Psychology professor and assessment committee member Jordan Rood explains this even further within the following video. Please take a look.
Greetings, esteemed colleagues. I'm Jordan Rood, professor of psychology. So I'm here today to tell you about work being done by the ILO assessment sub-team and to ask for your assistance. So the assessment sub-teams made up of assessment committee co-chairs Brent Wilson and Dean Lori Larkin, along with Faith Bradham, Teresa McAllister, Dana Hines-Gelder, Jennifer Grohl, Pam Davis, and myself, plus with the assistance of Soon-Young Kim from the Office of Institutional Effectiveness. Well, we've all banded together to undertake the task of assessing Institutional Learning Outcome, or ILO number 4. So the ILO number 4 reads that students will successfully engage productively in all levels of society, interpersonal, community, the state and nation, and the world. Whew. So we're going to try and tackle the community portion of that ILO. And the sub-team spent this spring and fall of 2020 designing a survey to understand more about the level of productive community engagement for students in their lives, ranging from a college campus and off campus in the community. So the survey instrument aims to collect data on the frequency and type of community engagement, ranging from social media use to voting to involvement with the campus clubs or broader community groups. In other words, we want to know how students are getting involved and how often they're getting involved. So with the help of the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, we'll be looking for a general description of overall campus and community engagement, but we're also going to look for patterns in the descriptive data related to demographic information, other institutional data like unit completion, GPA major, and the like. So the sub-team conducted a pilot study late in the previous fall 2020 semester. The pilot study results gave us a chance to receive feedback from students about the survey instrument itself, and that allowed us to make revisions. So although the pilot study had a small sample size, we can confirm that our Bakersfield College students are engaging in the campus with their campus community and outside of the campus in the broader community. And many students indicated that they would like more opportunity for such engagement. With the revisions now in place, the sub-team feels that our survey is now ready and it will be sent out to students via email this spring in the 2021 semester. So we're asking for your assistance. We'd like your help just to encourage your students to complete the survey. We'd really appreciate it if you keep an eye out for the email coming from us concerning the measurement of ILO number 4. Those are the words we want you to pay attention to there. Institutional Learning Outcome number 4, and encourage the students to take the short survey. Hope you all have a great semester. That's all from me for now. We are BC.
Thank you, Jordan, as well as the Assessment Committee sub-team for your time and dedication in ensuring the success of the assessment of our ILOs. As Professor Rood stated, we need your help. We know that faculty play an instrumental role in promoting student outcomes at all levels, course, program, and institution. During Flex Week, our assessment committee representatives, Faith Bradham and Teresa McAllister, will be available on Wednesday to support you in our collective ongoing efforts to continue toward reliable indicators of student learning on our campus. This workshop, titled, "Are We Encouraging Our Students to Be the Change They Wish to See in the World?" will discuss the specific tool that we will be using this semester and answer any questions you may have in connecting with your students in implementing the sub-team's survey. I encourage you to attend and engage in this workshop. Lastly, your assessment committee representatives are willing and available to provide you with their support or to hear about your amazing work with your students throughout the semester. Please do not hesitate to contact us. On behalf of the Assessment Committee, thank you for all that you do to ensure student learning and success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to opening day. Listen, we made it. We made it through the fall semester with all the uncertainties. And I just want to quickly give a shout out to all classified staff, faculty, administration for really putting in the work to make sure that our students were striving to do their best, that we were making sure that their futures were taken care of. So I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way first. But hey, we're on to a new semester. Listen, we rocked it in the fall. So I know moving into the spring, we should be like just ready to take over and be smooth sailing. I actually had the opportunity to take a Zoom class in the fall. And I must say that the students in that class seemed like they adjusted really well, and everything, still went okay. We were still okay. I do have a quick announcement that we have some new eBoard members. I'll be sending out an email announcing your new team. We are currently still in mediation, so hopefully we'll get back in the swing of getting our chapter meetings, back to a regularly scheduled program, so to say. The other thing that I wanted to share quickly was that, by now, most of us have had someone that has been affected by COVID, family members, friends, colleagues, neighbors. And so right now, CSEA is taking applications for the assistance fund. So if you had to get a hotel room in quarantine, so you weren't with your family, CSEA will help out with that. Go to csea.com, follow the links on the website, and there's a lot of things there, resources for you to utilize. So with that being said, I just want to say everybody have a great semester. We can do this together as a BC family. Let's do this. All right, everybody have a great semester. Bye-bye.
She's known to many as the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but to others she's RBG, or the notorious RBG. And then there is the legendary declaration of I dissent on cases that she strongly opposed, earning her a following among the vibrant younger generation. At 5'1", RBG was larger than life, an influential powerhouse who left us too soon at the age of 87 on September 18th. Yet the Supreme Court Justice of towering stature gifted us with a legacy of law, justice, equality, and an inspiration for many to follow. RBG will be remembered for bringing women and gender equality to the forefront, something she began doing from day one, way before her prestigious appointment on the U.S. Supreme Court Justice. And to define her is difficult. She was many things to many people. Yet we can highlight to a moment from a few years ago when she received the Radcliffe Medal at Harvard University. And she shared a piece of advice to young college women. She said, "Fight for the things you care about." She knew this story all too well. RBG was a teenager when she lost her mother to cancer. And though she was selected to speak at her high school graduation, she missed the pomps and circumstance, having seen her mother buried the day before. And what should have been a celebratory high school graduation day, she grieved with her father and remembered her mother, one who left her with some great advice: be a lady and be independent. Many agree her mother's spirit kept her pushing forward. In 1950, she enrolled at Cornell University, where male students outnumbered women. And there she met the love of her life, Marty. The two married in 1954, and after Cornell, she went on to Harvard Law School, then Columbia Law School. Her marriage to Marty defied stereotypes, and equality rang through the home in many forms, including both leading successful careers, both supporting each other in many ways, and him being the house chef. At one point early in their marriage, Marty fell ill while in school, and RBG pulled triple duty with his schoolwork, her schoolwork, and caring for their then 3-year-old daughter. Her husband passed away 10 years ago, leaving behind a letter that said, "I have admired and loved you almost since the day we met at Cornell some 56 years ago." After graduating at the top of her class from law school in 1954, RBG found herself looked over by law firms that chose not to give her a time or day, likely the result of being female. But as she's been known to say before, and I quote, "So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be a great good fortune." RBG became professor at Rutgers and Columbia Law Schools, and also began her work with the American Civil Liberties Union, where she successfully argued 6 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, 5 of which were won. In 1980, she was appointed to the U.S. Court of Appeals and then to the Supreme Court in 1993. Before stepping into the Supreme Court, the Brooklyn native took on a variety of cases on gender discrimination, one of which landed in the Supreme Court. The Reed versus Reed in 1971 challenged the idea that a father had precedence in administering the estate of a passing child. It was a landmark victory, one she wrote the majority opinion, and one that relied on the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, a constitutional amendment RBG took to heart in other cases before and during her term on the U.S. Supreme Court. While on the U.S. Supreme Court, some of her well-known cases have included the U.S. versus Virginia in 1996, which struck down the military college's male-only admission policy, and Ledbetter versus Goodyear in 2007, the unsuccessful case that sought to prove discrimination in equal pay. This is also the case in which Ginsburg issued her dissent, alluding to Congress to act, which they did, with the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act in 2009. In this program, you will hear from our judges and participants as they highlight opinions and dissent of cases that define the notorious B.I.G. and her impact on them. I hope you will enjoy.
We are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, I wanna make it and I know make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, I wanna make it and I know make a new plan, stand up keep going, say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, I wanna make it and I know we will. Stand up keep going, say yes we can. Resilience,
Well, Todd, that was an exciting first day of opening week.
It certainly was, Reggie. You did a great job as host. You know how we reward good work around here, right?
Yeah, with more work.
On that note, I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget tomorrow to join us again at 9 a.m. for day 2 of Spring 2021 opening week. I also wanted to remind you about... Hold up, Todd. Sonia? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, you want me to remind them about the PBHS B99 contact tracing class? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I gotta go. Okay. All right. Thanks. Well, you guys heard it. Want to make sure remind you guys about the registering for the PBHS B699 contact tracing class. It helps our students and it also helps our Bakersfield community. Thanks.
Well, with that, it's a wrap for us before Sonia calls again. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you.